Okay. Okay, so let's start. Well, let's start with review about things we have discussed a while ago. It's about the time value, student value. We have two different types of time value. It can be a given value or done future. And the very big theory of time value is that the money or the value money can change. So we have a rule here saying that $100 today can be very different from that tomorrow. And this is because the value can change when the money transition is time. And the gaps or the difference of that ratio between the two times, we call that the interest. And the reason why we need interest is that when you try to lend or sell money to the others or to borrow money from the others, we're indeed entering a final contract. That is the lender will lend money to you and in fact surrendering the control or the right to enjoy a life and they choose not to lend money to you. For example, you have 100 grand in your pocket and you have choices. You can either choose to lend money to your roommate who is starving to death without the money, or you choose to enjoy yourself, like entering some bar with some drinks. And when you came back, satisfied, well, your roommate was not there anymore. So, if you choose to lend money to your roommate to avoid it from starvation, you are indeed sacrificing your enjoyment. And by doing so, you should ask for some rewards for sacrifice, right? And the rewards, mainly, we call that the interest. And so today, we will have some discussion about interest rate. The very first thing is that how can we determine the rate? It can be high, it can be low. Still remember that over 30 years ago, when I was very young, at the age of my daughters now, I learned to save some money into my own bank account. Well, that time very few people know that. The reason why I learned that is that my grandma and my mother were both pensions. And my grandma said, even though at that time when I was 5 or 6 or maybe 7 years old, she said, you should do something in finance. At the time, we have a custom in China that advocates the happiness thing during the New Year's Day, and you don't get besides new clothes, nice food, it's some money. We could not go back so good that. How did you spend your money when you were still young? Have by parents or so my grandma said, well, maybe you can save the money in a bank account. Because at the time, I still remember, it's in late 1980s or early 1990s. That's a period when we had high inflation. Anyway, at that time, I did not understand what inflation is. But I believe that I had a very high interest rate. I still remember the rate till now because I have never experienced that high rate anymore in my life. It is 10.98. And unbelievable. So that is, if you say deposit 100 in the bank account now, in 1 year, you get 11 extra. However, if you had a illustration at the calculator by looking into the inflation data around 1990s, early 1990s or maybe 1980s, something like that, you won't know the reason why. But at the time, the rate was very attractive. And nowadays we only have a rate about 3 or 4%. So this was the first time I learned about interest. I even asked my grandmother, saying, "Hey, grandma, can you tell me why do they offer me a rate interest?" And my grandma said, "Well, once you deposit your money in a bank account, the money is not variable. The bankers will collect all the money altogether and issue the money to the customer or to the clients in the form of loans. And they will charge the customers who try to borrow money from the banks. And the rate will be even higher than what they pay for you." And I asked her, saying, "Why do you have a gap? Well, now it's called a spread." She said, "Well, that's a benefit, as a source of benefit for commercial banks." Well, that was my first lesson in finance at the time. So today we had a discussion about why and how we can determine the rate. Sometimes we find the rate is very high, and sometimes it can be very low. I still remember that the rate for current accounts. Well, we have two bank accounts. That's how we do it. One is for current account. The other is for savings. Any idea about that? Current account means that it can deposit your money at any time in this account. In Chinese, we call it Huoqi. And in saving account, you have to enter a contract with the bank that it can turn you to deposit money for a fixed time or period. In Chinese, we call that 定期或储蓄. So, do you have any idea about the current rate in current account now? I had some investigation last night. In my account, it is 1.25 now. You find a very low rate. But do you know the rate for my UK account? It is in fact 0.01. Well, close to nothing. So that was the reason why 7 years ago I decided to separate my money in the UK account into two parts. One to remain in the account and deposit, and the other part I devoted into the US stock market. Well, I earned something at the time, and then you know what happened past few months. So we will kind of discuss that and whether the interest rate, the quote. Do you know the word quote? Quote. Quote means that we will quote the rate on a piece of paper or on ads. Rate of the rate always be the same as the rate you have to pay or receive actually. It might be the same and it might be different. Okay, so let's go further. Now, before that, we will have a review or start with some very basic ideas about the accumulation of interest. The reason why I call it accumulation is that the interest you receive, we have to pay can accumulate. For example, if you decide to put some money in your saving account for 3 or 5 years, then you receive the interest for 3 or 5 years. And the interest is in fact calculated on a yearly basis on most occasions. And the way we calculate the interest rate, we have a term before that accrue. So, for example, if you decide to deposit $100 in your account for 2 years, and how much should we receive? We assume that you will receive interest on a yearly basis. So the interest will be calculated once per year. Let's have a see here. If you decide to deposit $100 now, and that for 2 years. So at the beginning, yearly, you have a balance of 100. And in 1 year, assuming that the rate is 10%, we will have the balance will be 100 times 1 and 10%. That's going to happen from here. So you find the money is now comprised of 2 components. One is we call that principal. Principal. And we have something called that interest. Now, we have no controversy here, right? After 1 year, you have 100 in your account and have the original balance of the principal. And also, you have 10 extra, which we call that interest. Now, things become very complicated when we decide to go further. Now, at the end of second year, how much interest do we receive? We have 2 options. One is $100 times 1 and 10%, which is the balance here at the end of first year. And the target again, 5%. Or you have 110% only. Now, which one would you prefer? this one, we call that C. Or this one, we call that X. Which one we prefer? If you are a lender, I suppose you would want this one because you're receiving more. And if you're borrowing, you might prefer this one. And what's the difference between these two? The key point of the difference is in fact whether you would put the interest that you have earned in the first year back into your account. Right? Because at the end of the first year, we have two parts. We have the principal, which is $100, and we have interest, which is in fact 10. So the only controversy we have is whether we should put that in or out. In right. If you decide to put the $10 of interest back into the account, we are receiving the interest in two parts. One is generated from the original balance of 100, and the other is from the interest. So we call that the interest of interest, right? And for this calculation, you find we never put the interest in. We only calculate based on the original balance. So we have two different ways of calculation. For this, we call that complex interest. And for this, we call that simple interest. Now, next year, if you decide to deposit your money into your saving account for 3 years, will the banker use the complex interest or simple interest for your 3-year deposit? Another question is, you have two options for the deposit. You can either deposit the one time for 3 years. That is, you put the money there, you set off for 3 years. The other is, I put that in the saving account for only 1 year. And after 1 year, I ask for a roll or for extension on my deposit. That is, after 1 year, I'll say, well, okay, now continue with another year. What's the difference there? So we have a choice here. Okay, we have a choice. Deposit. Let's see. One is 3 year plan. Second is 1 year rolling over for 3 years. What's the difference there? Assuming that the money elected to deposit trade 100 and weight on both scenarios are 10%. So now my question is, how much will you see in 3 years? I have about 2 minutes to write down your formula on a piece of paper. Try to see whether there is any difference between the two. One choice is that we have a 3-year plan. You put money there for 3 years. And the other is we put it for only 1 year, and then 1 year we roll over for another year, and then we roll over for another year. So, any difference there? In the economic practice, in banking industry practice, you will see the difference there. Quite a few people can get confused. Even my mom, who caring for 20 years, can confuse sometimes. And the scenario is that she will struggle sometimes on whether to go for 3 or 5 years or then it's rolling over. So what's the difference? Remember that when you enter a 3-year plan, the banks will only pay you the interest on the simple interest. That is how you will see it will be $100. That is the balance, that is the principal, times 110% times 3. This is the simple interest. And if you decide to roll over, it will be 100 times 110% for 3 times. Because when rolling over, you are in fact put the interest back into the account. And the way of doing this is called complex interest. And the way of calculation is called parity. So, as a wise man or lady, you will definitely choose this one, right? If you're at the bottom. So, this is not the truth in the industry at all. You will see a 3-year deposit is always offered a rate that is much higher than 1-year plan. So you will see. Now my question is, why do the banks offer a higher rate for long-term deposits? Well, you consider, and I'll talk about it later. Now, let's see. What is the difference between simple interest, in China we call that penalty, and complex interest, in China we call that fully? What's the difference there? That's true. You'll find that in each year, on the framework of simple interest, the payment or you receive interest is always the same. But if you are in the complex interest framework, you'll find the interest becomes more and more. It's like a throwing ball. Right? It's rolling, and turns bigger and bigger. So in old days, kind of the people get trapped by the loans with high interest, because eventually it becomes very hard for them to pay back even the interest. And we have a term for that, we call that snowball rolling, right? In Chinese, 滚雪球. So I have about 5 minutes to let yourself be familiar with 2 types of accumulations, because we will use that later. And in the field of finance, complex interest framework is more frequently used. When I went to the Lancaster in 2011, the store like the view of banking in the bank county. My supervisor asked me a question. He said to me, where would your money go if the bank failed? And if the bank goes bankruptcy, where would your money go? And I replied, say no, if I said banks and never fail. I should not say no, just me. I was born in 1940s, and in my life, I have seen 3 or 4 waves of financial crisis. And in each round, I have seen quite a few banks failing. I said, no, this can never happen in China. So he said, I said, because nearly all the banks in China are state-owned. I said, well, okay. So if the country fails, no plan, no. Our country will never fail. Well, that's to do with it. And I said, well, thanks for your confidence about your mother country. Now, may I ask you, if the bank fails now today, For example, the Bank of China fails at 11 o'clock. What will happen to the money? Maybe you are including your money for your lunch. What will happen if the bank fails? In theory, well, no lunch can stop today. Because your money has gone with the wind. In that case, and then sort of others. If the bank fails, what can happen? I used to ask my own class of students, saying what can happen, and she might say, "Oh, not she, professor. I will put my money back all the time." I said, "Okay, so then, I'll try to dig a hole in my country and put my money in that hole on the floor." Okay, be careful. When digging a hole, it might not be a hole, but a tunnel towards the neighbor upstairs. So you're not saving your money, you're distributing your money to your neighbor downstairs. You say like, "Hey, enjoy." Now, my question, have you ever thought about the problem potential that if the bank fails? Normally, in each country, we have an act or a law for that deposit insurance. And we will set a limit. That means if the bank fails, you will get some of your money back if you're rich, or all your money back if you're poor. Now, meaning that they have a limit. In China, the limit is, we say it is about 500,000. In China, that is, if the balance of the account is lower than this number, you get all the money back, compensated by the pension. If you have more than that, unfortunately, only the spender can be back in certain, and for the remaining, good luck. And in US, I suppose I'm not sure, should be around 200,000 dollars. And in UK, it will be very similar. You may ask me that, why is it a low limit for this? This is because when a bank fails, there will be thousands of tens or hundreds of thousands accounts to pay. Right? That'd be a very huge amount of money. And in more, to be careful with that, only the deposit will be counted. That is, if you choose to enter an agreement with some mutual funds or some wills management products, sorry, it's never covered. Because that's about personal investment, you have to make sure you understand the risks. When a wills management product or fund fails, and all the money goes with the wind, in China, we have a different way to solve the problem. That means to take some walk in the street. We have Okay, so let's move on. Leave your discussions for 40 minutes, okay? Now let's move on. Now we're going to talk to interest calculations. One is simple, the other is so complex, even though it's not very complex indeed. So let's take that out. Summary. For on the simple interest rate, you will see pay your interest with equal amount each year or in each period. And on a complex interest, you'll find the interest you'll pay and receive is like a snowball rolling over the ground. And the amount can be even larger and larger with the time goes by. And the procedure of interest increasing is called compounding. That is called compounding. That is not hold itself for multiple times. And in other terms, we might compound the interest on the daily, weekly, monthly, semi-annually, every 6 months, or even annually. But if you have a finance course next semester, right? In that course, you have a term called infinite compounding. Infinite compounding. That is widely used in financial markets. I will leave that to your trade finance. Now, let's go further. I have told you that under some conditions, the interest may have paid or received not be different or slightly different from the rate that they claim. They will say you have a 6% interest rate for a year. But indeed, under some occasions, you have a chance to pay more than it. Or less. After some payments, because people are always natural averse to paying too much. So, again, we have two new terms here. What is EA? Well, EAI, non-European Accounting Review Authorities, it's called effective annual rate. E is effective. But how do you understand the word effective? Not noise. Effective means the amount of the rate that you actually pay. So always remember, EAR means something effective. And something effective means the actual number or the actual amount of money you have to pay or you will receive. So EAR means something actual. And we have another term, we call that API. So in 1 or 2 years, just but quite a few of you will just go abroad and study overseas. And the very first thing we get right here is to open a bank account. And the way to bank account, they will try to send you quite a few materials, like the short-term loans, credit cards, or some things. And you will see the word API. Because if you ever will say, this plan is based on the 6% API. So APR is a quoted interest rate. It's quoted. Quoted means something appeared on a piece of paper or on the screen and they'll show you. But this rate may not be the actual rate you will enjoy or you have to bear. So you only see that they only see a real showing 6% of APR, and with something called for reference only. So, what's the translation of this for summary? Also, in my means for summary, I mean somebody. Forget about it. So, when you always see the division there. And in China, we say we use the short-term years. So, apparently, what we kind of discussed here is that APR can be different from EM. And then how have a guess. Under which condition can the EAR be different from APR? So we want. In fact, this is a very famous trick in the financial knowledge. I have a screenshot here. I took that last night. On Netflix, there is a series of documentaries with the title Dirty Money. How do you feel about the word dirty money? That means money in immoral way. It might be legal, but it's not doing it, right? The reason why I put the Donald Trump here, because he always said, no, not good. And same for losing money, no, not good. And in the second episode of season 10 of the documentary, they have a definition named payday. Payday in fact refers to payday loans. I thought we had a discussion last week, right? Payday loan in Chinese means something. The reason why we call it payday loans in US is that the big challenge that a few residents in US or in Europe face is not something else but bills. You know the bill. Bill can have a lot of meanings. It might be a name for Bill Gates, or it can be a field bill. And if you are lucky enough to look for the Congress, you will see a lot of bills as a calculation. But on the most occasions when you study overseas, you will face a bill on a monthly basis. For example, the telephones, your internet service, the electricity, the water, or even gas. They call it bill. And what is payday? Payday is a time when you get salary, you get income. And very important thing. Well, even at the university, we care about it. You know, from time to time, our salary or income will be delayed. So we have a WeChat group. We have several hundreds of teachers, like me. We put up temporary workers because we don't have something called in Chinese bench. So when the salary got delayed, we will have to say, hey, where is the income this month? We are starting to this. So something like that. One day, we had a departmental meeting. And after the meeting, we raised a question to the chair. We said, hey, chair, do you know that our income this month is delayed? And the professor replied, delayed? I'm not sure. Then we'll see, well, we never see the gaps, right? We need to focus on payday, but the professors didn't care about it. Yes, it would be right. That's the difference between heaven and hell. Okay, they're joking, right? So sometimes you find the bill day is different from the payday. And for many people, they were so cool that without enough money, without the paycheck, they cannot cover the bill. And they must find a way to fill the gap. So they would prefer to get into some small finance firms, borrow some money, maybe $300 or $400 US to pay the bill first, and then pay the lending or the borrowing when the payday comes. This is a very good design. However, they missed one thing. That is, the payday loan comes with very high rate and very weird conditions. Well, you might want to have a look at the documentary there. And for the original part, I got an article in Chinese several months ago, from the People Network. That's a newspaper for the parties or for the central government in China. And it says, be careful about the credit card overview. Have you ever experienced overuse? Maybe your father or more. Have you ever tried? I have a brother-in-law who used to work in Shenzhen. And one day he made a call to me or to my wife, saying that, hey, my sister, yeah, can you please help me? Because I feel very struggling. My wife said, so why do you feel struggling? He said, I thought about 10,000 2 years ago, and they're now asking for 30,000, which I cannot bear. I said, how can it happen? He said, I bought money for a new phone. I said, why do you need a new phone when you cannot afford it? Well, that's human nature. Eventually, we paid the bill because at least he's my brother-in-law. And you know what? I'll show you. Now, this is a screenshot from a newspaper or from a news online, suggesting some very different short loans. Well, these are very legal ones, so the rate is not very high. In fact, the rate is even lower than credit cards. So I can now do my credit card issuer, which is China Merchant Banks. Very, very famous in Shenzhen, right? So I called her, say, hey, can you tell me the overdue rate? And she got very excited. Hey, professor, you need some money? You can lend me some money. Don't make it overuse. It's very expensive. We have something cheaper. I know I I said, don't worry, I don't need any money. What do you ask for late? I said, for my ticket tomorrow morning. She feels very depressed. Because that means the KPIs further away from it. And she asked me, why don't you need money? I'm like, hey, be careful. I need money always, without any change. But I do not need any loan for two reasons. One is I cannot afford the rate of interest. The second is, if I need some loans, that means I have to buy some luxury cars, some houses, right? But definitely, I can't afford any house in Shenzhen. That's why I don't need the money. So she told me, for any overdue on my credit card, without any waiting, the daily rate is 0.85%. Not too much, right? That means for every 10,000 bill you owe to the bank, you only pay 5 yuan per day. Not very expensive, right? But imagine if you want to lapse that for a year, how much will you pay? Remember, this daily overdue will be calculated in the complex interest framework, and it will be conducted on a daily basis. So I give the calculation here. For each day, I'll have 0.05%, and it will last 365 days. So we can tell you minus 1, your money rate is 20%. 20% is a very high rate indeed. That is, if you only spend 10 seconds in 1 year, you have to pay 2,000 extra. I had a loan with a car company. I purchased my car 3 years ago. In 3 years, I only paid 9.5 in total. Now you can see how expensive it is. But remember, what is the effect of compounding? If we find this rate for 305 days directly without any compounding, we only have to pay about 18.65%. So by compounding, we are having about 1.5% extra. Remember, this is only 0.05. If you had an investigation with some agency loans or campus loans several years ago, you will see the rate is much higher. Sometimes they will charge you 5% or 0.5% for a week, and which can be very huge. So months later, my brother-in-law came to my house for supper. And then at supper, I said, now let me show you the tricks of interest rates. And I showed him the calculations with Excel. And he got crazy. So let's see. On the sum, okay, we charge you 1% a week. Imagine how much you have to pay in a year. Do that yourself. $1 for a week. Remember, 1%, not 0.1%. You get a very good number. How do you feel about it? Good clarity, right? But this is in fact very attractive because, for example, if you look in to any finance training, I say, hey, don't worry, you need 1 minute, I can lend you. And for 1 week, you only have to pay 1% back. You say, oh, okay, it's fine. Even for a month, only 4%. Not very expensive, right? But then they will never tell you that. This will be compounded. And if you cannot pay that in 1 month or in 1 week, instead, you want to pay that in 6 months or even longer, you will find it very disastrous. So this is a trick of APR and ER. And so when the face of my brother-in-law turned gray and turned pale, I said, well, no worry if you don't understand the calculations. Remember one thing. If you do need money, call us instead. Never go for any small finance programs. You will die there. Okay, now it's time for you to have a practice. Suppose that you bank pays interest monthly with an interest rate quoted and invested annually divided by of 6%. Remember, this is EAR. What amount of interest will you earn each month? If you have no money in the next day, how much will you need to receive to save at the end of each month equivalent of 10 years? Now remember, the 6% rate in the EAR, right? So if you want to convert an annual rate into monthly, you have to decide whether the annual rate is compounded or not. But how can you judge? Always remember a simple rule. When you see something called EAR, it is compounded. When you see something APR, it is not compounded. Always remember this. Now, we have a 6% of annual in the form of EAR that is effective annual return. So when you decide to convert that 6% into a monthly return, the must not compounded. So definitely it is yes. So now, have a try yourself. If they promise you an EAR of 6% in a year, what is the rate that you will receive for every month? Well, try that. Have some practice. You have 3 or 4 minutes to do that. Don't stare this, it's minutes. Unless you have tried it. Not very difficult. They haven't related it. That's it. When it has 3 or 4 minutes. Try something better. What is the relation between the rate in each month and the rate for a whole year? Well, it seems simple, but not simple indeed, right? Now let's see. How can we convert the monthly rate into a yearly rate? An annual rate? Well, let's see. At the beginning, first month, second month, third month, you will be maximums. Let's assume that the default is 1 point at the beginning, only 1 point. So you have right. And if it is the one here in 1 month, we will see Y and R and R and is a month in turn, right? And then we decide to go further, so we put all the money back, including both the deposit and the interest. So in the second month, you have 1 R and squared, right? Because now at the end of the first month, the balance becomes 1 and Rn instead of R. So at the end of second month, we will have a new balance times the rate. Okay, I'll do it again. So we will at the end of second month, the new balance becomes 1 Rn. This is in fact the product of the new balance. Right? And times 1 Rn. This part is in fact the interest. So that at the end of second month. And third month, this will be a new balance again. It will be a new balance for second month, and with times 1 and Rn. That is the rate of interest for the third month, right? So again and again, we do that for 12 months. That is the 12 months. So putting all together, we'll have 1 and Rn 12 times. And that is a sum of principal and interest. So what is the annual return? Which is equals to the principal and an annual return. Right? So, with some rearrangements, we have a formula. Annual return equals y non-return for 5 minus 1. Then it will be very simple to get a different order. How can you convert an annual return to an option? But remember, all this work, all the framework works only under the definition of EAR only. Because EAR requires penalty. If you're going to confuse the memory, take some time at the test. You will be clear about it. So, keeping this in order, have a try of the problem. Which here, the vertical side. 1% from the root of that minus 1. This is the vertical step. And then we will have to go further. It requires that at the end of the term, I will have, let's see how much. I will have 100,000 in total in 10 years. So, how much should I put in each month? How do you make it? Well, again, to apply now. Well, have a break. Okay, so that's now we took the time now. Start at the beginning, and then first month, remember, first month, first year, second month, until, because this will be paid in 10 years, so we have 130 months. Okay. So, the requirement that in 10 years, we will have $100,000 total. Now, may I ask, is this number current value or future value? Future value, right? Yeah. So at the end of that, we will have 100,000. Now, my question is, how much should we pay for the payment in each month? Oh. So much is saying that should you memorize all the equations? In fact, I have a challenge myself. I'm wondering if it goes against the rule or not to provide you an appendix on final generation paper where I can provide you a list of formulas. Because this is very common in US and in Europe, where we call that formula sheet. But it's very uncommon in China. Because when I received my undergraduate and graduate studies in China, my professor told me, you have to memorize everything, which I find very difficult. So, I'm thinking now whether to provide you a list of them or not. Already? No, I'm not actually that already. Without any way about the risk intention. Good, I'll do that. But you will need a calculator yourself to do the calculations, which cannot be provided on paper. You have to prepare it yourself. But I'll take a note. A calculator is allowed to notify the invigilator. But don't worry, on most occasions, I will be one of the invigilators there. So don't worry about it. No, I will not. All the formula. If one is very unique, you have the end. Remember, end not 10, but 120. Because the C is on a monthly basis, not a yearly basis. And the official value of the annual fee is in fact 100,000. You get that? Very okay, now let's see how can we make convergence between effective annual rate and projected rate. How can we do that? Well, when you have an APR, if you want to convert an annual rate into a monthly rate, remember, you don't need to compare it. So, for language, divided by 12, you're getting nonsense, not similar. And in fact, this is the reason why the quota rates are on APR rather than ER firms. Okay, so under which condition can the EAR be different from APR? Or let's be simple. Under which condition can the two rates be equal?
Only for 1 year.
Yeah, both of them are calculated for on a yearly basis, right? Otherwise, can be different. For example, if the interest rate is accrued on a quarterly basis, that is, each 3 months. So that means in a year, the rate will be compounded for 4 times. At this time, you will find the EAR is different from APR. And in fact, the EAR will be high. Now, under which condition can the EAR be lower than APR? Can it be possible? Open your mind. Open your mind to see if there's any chance that EAR can be lower than APR. Is it possible? Never restrain your imagination by common rules. Just like, who told you that a man can never wear a skirt? If you travel to Scotland, it's very common. If you join a wedding ceremony in Scotland, it's custom. I have a friend, not mine anyway. At the time, I was just arriving in a costume. He showed me a photo. Hey, you see? Well, that it's me wearing a skirt in Scotland. I said, how do you feel? He said, my only feel is so cool. So yeah, really cool because the weather, the temperature is very low there. So, is it possible that the EAR be lower than APR? If I compare the rate every 2 years, what will happen? It's likely. This is a difference between doing industrial works and doing experimental research. When doing research, we explore every possibility. And in real life, people say the big four. How can you compare it for every 2 years? Why you do that? Anyway, it's possible. But it's very rare. So now see, if the compounding frequency is more than 1 in the year interval, the EAR will be higher than APR. And with the increase of the compounding frequency, the EAR or the gap between EAR and APR can be larger, right? So now, if you're a lender, you're trying to get more than less. But the APR rate is fixed. How can you trick your client? We never say cheat. We do small tricks. Right? We never cheat. We only do small tricks. Even though you find sometimes tricks mean cheating. Well, I would say, no worry, we have an APR here, which is not very high. But I will never tell you that we compound every day. So you will find you're paying slightly more than what you expect. Given the very large amount of clients who are willing to play with me on the trips, I can earn good money. That's the core business model. So, what you ask for example, if this concept is competitive on a monthly basis, you will divide the APR by 12. And then have some friends here. Well, let's have a practice here. Now see, 4.6% of APR. If the comparative interval is for 1 year, that is only the number once a year, you will find they are equivalent. However, if I decide to compound twice in a year, that is each for 6 months, you are paying slightly more. And if you decide to compound on a daily basis, you will find a very significant increase here. So that is more tricky. Now, this is a question for you. If you're a lender, will there be any other reason aside a small benefit extra in case you choose a plan with short compound interval? Well, a test of your English. Read the long sentences. So, just a little bit. Do you have any other reason to set a very small compound interval besides the 10 here? You do care about the default risk. That is, you're not sure whether the borrower can pay the money back in full. So you ask for interest payments in a very short interval. It's just like a way to lower down your loss potential. And then we'll have discussion later. We call that credit risk. Now, another balance. At this time, you're now purchasing a telephone system, which will last for 4 years. You can purchase a system for an upfront cost of 150,000. That means you pay the money in front. Or you can lease the system from the manufacturer for 4,000 paid at the end of each month. And by taking a lease on the upfront cost, you can borrow. You borrow the rate at 5% APR with semi-annual compounding. Be careful. Under this condition, the EAR can be different from the APRs. Should you purchase the system outright or pay 4,000 per month? This is a very common scenario. That is, when you study overseas, you will know that you have two choices for a new phone. You can either go to the apple.com to buy a new one, pay in full, or you can enter a contract with the telephone company, usually for 24 months. Which would you prefer? You have to consider, right? Well, I got my very first smartphone in 2011 on a project. And not because of calculations, only because I had no money to pay for. Now, let's have a look here. Now, the only thing you have to remember is that the 6%, 5% APR do not require income. Right? So for every 6 months, the rate will be 2.50%. Right? Now, I will try. Again, draw a timeline. But how can you compare the upfront cost with a stream of cash? And then you can have a choice to pay 150 upfront, or you can pay 4,000 at the end of each month for 4 years. How can you compare the two plans? You need to find basis for comparing. Where is the basis? So, first question is, how can we compare the two plans? One is to pay enough money now, and the other is to pay more money in next 4 years. Unless you're as poor as I did 10 years ago. Now, let's assume that you have no problem to pay the money now. So there's no poverty concerns. Definitely, the choice is we compare. If we decide to pay 4,000 each month for next 4 years, what is the equivalent amount of money of payment now? Right? The division will be based on the least payment we can have. The next event. Right? But how can we know the equivalent amount of money now for a stream of 4 years. We will try to get the present value of that stream. So we can compare the present value of the stream with the one-time payment now. If we find the present value is less than the upfront cost, definitely we will decide to pay each month. Otherwise, we will pay the money in full now instead of the installments in 4 years, right? But now we have 2 problems to solve. The APR of 5% is for a yearly basis, for annual interval. And the payments, if we decide to make for 4 years, will be on a monthly basis. So given the APRs, how can we know how much the discount rate for each month? So we draw a timeline here. Assuming that we pay 4,000 each month for 48 months, that is 12 months each year times 4 years, and 48 months in total. Now we compute the present value, right? But how can we know the monthly rate? So we can use that for discount purposes. Now, may I ask you that when you are trying to calculate the present value or future value of a stream of cash flow, will you use EAR or APR for your discounting? EAR. Right. UCR. So there are 2 traps here in this problem. One is that they tell you that APR is 5%. But the compounding interval is 6 months. You see that here. We have a rate of 5% of APR with semi-annual compounding. That is, in each of 6 months, you'll do the compounding. So the actual APR is in fact 2.5% for 6 months. Right? And for 6 months, you have 2.50%. How can you get the monthly AR rate? It is definitely right. Y and R times 6 months equals Y and definitely. Let's see. It's here. Right? Because we solve the equation, we find R. We get R equals 1 and 2.5% by 1/6 -1. So by doing this, we are having a rate of 0.41% per month. And this rate will be used as a discount rate in your final calculations. But by doing so, we find the PV is about 163,000. So now tell me, what is your decision? To pay all the money now, or to pay the lease plan for 4 years? Which one would you prefer? Good. So, what's your opinion here? Pay 150,000 now, or pay 4,000 per month in the next 4 years? Which one would you prefer? Well, go through the solution first, and then tell me your decision. The preliminary here, meaning that if you decide to pay 4,000 per month for next 4 years, it is equivalent to paying 173,000 now. So what is your decision? To pay 150,000 now, or to pay 4,000? Yeah, your decision should be pay the total now. Because we find the lease is in fact more expensive than the sale price, right? Okay. Now, let's go further for calculation of the loan claim. 2 years ago, your firm took out a 30-year amortization loan to purchase a small office building. Amortizing loan means that for each month or each year, the payment is equal. The loan has a full 80% APR with monthly payments of this amount of money. How much do you own on loan today? This sounds very complicated, but if you draw a timeline on a piece of paper, you'll find it's rather simple. Yeah. So in providing a framework that I summarized from the problem. So when seeing this kind of problem, always try to figure that as a stream of cash flows. Find the cash ins and outs for each month or each period, and then decide whether you are pursuing a present value or a future value, and then find the discount rate that is appropriate. Well, then you find it. Given that I will provide you a formula sheet, so you have no worry about memorizing details of an equation. You must feel very relieved, right? So, draw a timeline chart. Now, how much you owe to the tenant? That is in fact the present value of all remaining payments. Right? Because you have now, you entered the contract 2 years ago, and then you have 28 years remaining. So, if you want to know how much you owe to the banks, you are indeed asking for another question, that's what will be the present value of the cash flows that you have not paid yet? So I don't like to some step with you. First, paying for each monthly people. Well, let me draw a line for you. We have time right here. 0, 1, blah, 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 blah. For any years. Because this is a multi loan, let's have a final focus for several minutes. I understand that you feel very starving, right? I feel the same. After Sunday break, I find I'm not accustomed to this kind of busy work anymore. Okay, so we have each month we have some payments. If we calculate all the remaining payments now, we get the answer, right? So, given that both you and I feel that hungry, let's stop here. Go and enjoy a meal.